to serve primarily as a liaison to Muslim Americans, but over my time here, I have come to manage outreach to Sikh communities, to Hindu communities, and now today I am proud to add JAINA to that list. When President Obama first took office, he made a commitment that his administration would be one of the most diverse, most open, and most inclusive administrations in history. And to accomplish that goal, the Office of Public Engagement, where I work, has served as the front door of the White House, so that all communities, regardless of background, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of religion, would know that they have a government and a president that serves all Americans. And so when I look at all of you gathered here today, I am truly and honestly inspired. This beautiful blend of heritages, of beliefs being represented, that's what makes us all so beautiful and what makes this country so great. There's nothing more American than gathering together at the White House to celebrate cultural and religious pluralism. Our celebration of diversity is exactly what makes our nation stronger. And essential tenets of Jainism, which I've gotten the chance to learn over just the past few weeks, nonviolence, dialogue and harmony with other faiths, non-possessiveness, these are universal values that are powerfully resonant for me as a Muslim American. And it should be principles that resonate with anyone who cares deeply about humanity and our shared purpose and responsibility to love and support one another and worship together. And at a time when it might sometimes seem like the angriest voices are the only ones we ever hear, these values and your voices are the ultimate answer and are more important than ever before. And so we're very pleased to host you here today. Together, we will make sure that our government is representative of all Americans. And together, we'll make our nation even more beautiful. So thank you very much.
When it comes to the Jain way of life. Evolve, expand, educate, and energize. We should evolve through our practices, expand awareness in the media, educate members of our community as well as others, and energize our organization. Our religion, Jainism, believes that the way to liberation and bliss is through living a life filled with peace and renunciation. Lord Mahavira, the 24th Tirthankara of Jainism, was the torch-bearer of Ahimsa, which means non-violence, and introduced the word to the world and applied the concept in his own life. He taught that to obtain nirvana, one must abstain from violence. In today's time, this message of peace and non-violence is more relevant than ever before. As Jains, we try to teach and preach the path prescribed by our Tirthankaras in a hope to one day achieve liberation of our soul. The concept of our fundamental principle, ahimsa, applies to all humans, as well as animals, plants, and microorganisms. All life is sacred, and everyone has the right to live fearlessly and to its maximum potential. In modern times, non-violent methods of actions have made a powerful impact on social protesting, revolutionary, social, and political change. Moments in history have exemplified nonviolence in India and in the United States. Mahatma Gandhi led a decade-long nonviolent struggle and helped India gain its independence. Martin Luther King Jr. adopted Gandhi's nonviolent methods and in his campaign to win the civil rights for Americans, African Americans, here in our
especially JD and Heather, they work very hard. This is just 50 days of work, so I apologize, any mistake or, anything. So I please feel, very sorry, if I have hurt you, and it's which I'm doing. JD and Heather, I know I have, followed up with you now, so many times, but when I talk to you, I'm really impressed, and you understand, the purpose of our religion or community from India is just one language. Having said that, whenever I'm watching TV and seeing the violence around the world, when I came to US in 2001, and I is changing a lot. And it's not only US, but all over the world. So it's our responsibility, to keep our family, world family. I'm talking about the world family. I'm not talking about our USA family or anything, but our world family, keep it safe, and everybody prosper, fully. So that's why, we are here only 80 people. And now we can have one voice, including the Whitehouse voice, and our communities fully, whatever need we help, you always contact us, and whatever way we can help to give the full voice, in the world, and we have all over the world our centers to stop the violence for the future of, humankind. So having said that, I'm now starting reciting the Navkar mantra. I know we are making history. This is the first time in JAINA or in Jain religion we are at Whitehouse, and it's really our pride and pleasure to be here. But I definitely do not want to take the only credit, because all of you are like more, senior than that. So first, I will recite, and after that second time, you guys enjoy. Okay? So first, you guys have literally have a, that's the purpose of Navkar, for the world peace. Okay? So please do not recite in the first time. Okay? Om Namo Aditantaya. Om Namo Sitaya. Om Namo Agyariyaya. Om Namo Vajraya. So you guys will also start and with me.
જગતના જીવનમાં શાંતિ સમતા સમાધિ એના દ્વારા મળી શકે છે. એના પાયા એના ફાઉન્ડેશનમાં નમસ્કાર મહામંત્ર અને ઉપસ્તોત્ર સ્તોત્ર જેની રચના ભદ્રભાવ સ્વામીએ લગભગ 1600 વર્ષ પહેલાં કરી છે. એની 27 ગાથાઓ હતી, અત્યારે 5 ગાથા પૂરી છે. ઉપસ્તોત્ર સ્તોત્ર આપણે શરૂઆત કરીએ છીએ સાથે वस्त्रम पासम पासम मंदानिकम मनमोकम विसर्ग सविन्यासम मंगल कल्याण आवासम विसर्ग पुलिमंतम कंठे धारे जोसयामनो तस्सलो कुमारी दुष्टजराजंती वशामम चिठोरे म्हणतो तुझपणातून होई नरतिरे सुधी जीवा आवून दुखदो गच्चम तुह सम्मतेल ते चिंता कप पाय भये पावंते विघेण जीवायरानं थान यसंतो मायसा भक्ति बनी बढ़ेण तारे विज बोहिन भवे भवे पास गिनचंद भवे भवे पास गिनचंद भवे भवे पास गिनचंद
राज करवे
Thanks to my colleague Zach for the great work he does here and for all the hard work he and his colleagues have done in organizing these briefings, which, as you know, take a lot of legwork. So we're very appreciative for what he does, and he's been a great addition to our staff here at the Whitehouse over the past year or so. Well, I wanted to talk a few words about the work that we do, and then I hope that we'll be able to stay in touch, both including over the next few months while the administration is finishing up its work here, and then hopefully beyond as well. As Zaki said, I direct the Office of Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships, and the mission of that office is to work with faith and community groups to serve people in need. And so, again, the mission is clear, serving people in need, and the means by which we do that is working with faith and community groups. So I know so many of you are already invested in this work. You were doing it long before we set up this office, and you'll be doing it long after we had left the White House. So we're kind of coming in midstream and wanting to learn from you about how we can work with you better. We can partner with you in two broad ways, I would say. One way that the federal government partners with non-governmental groups is through a formal relationship of a financial partnership. And I know you all are familiar with that. Government grants and contracts and other assistance is sometimes given to non-governmental organizations to carry out some task that the administration wants carried out, whether it's job retraining or whether it's serving nutritious meals to kids during the summer when they're not in school, those federally subsidized meals that can really help children continue to learn and grow during the summer. Those are all formal partnerships that are financial in nature. And we at the White House don't give out that money or make decisions about awards, but rather we work with federal agencies who make decisions about awards that they are giving out and make sure that you all know if you're interested in applying for those kinds of awards that you're able to. So that encompasses not only telling you, hey, the Department of Veterans Affairs is now accepting applications for a particular award, but also trying to build up groups' capacity so that maybe today they're not in a position to apply for such aid, but if they worked on it and developed their organizations more, they might be able to in the future. So we try to do that with respect to financial partnerships. Then there's a less formal kind of working that we do, and that is through non-financial partnerships. And these are a broader array of religious and community organizations that we work with in these forms of partnerships. And often they're about sharing information. So, for example, we had the flooding in Baton Rouge not too long ago. We sent out our team from the Department of Health and the Department of Homeland Security down to Baton Rouge to meet with faith and community leaders to find out what's going on the ground in terms of what are people experiencing about government benefits and government assistance, where are there problems, how can we clear this up? Because we know, and the President has often said, that faith and community groups are so close to people, and you will hear things many times before we will, and people will feel more comfortable coming to you than they will picking up the phone and trying to figure out who to call in the federal government. And that's one of the reasons why our partnerships become so important, because we learn from you what needs to be done, and then we help carry out that task as best we can. And then we also learn from you about how our systems are working or not working. So if a particular form of aid isn't penetrating into a community that is entitled to a particular form of treatment, then we want to know from you that that's happening so we can work on that problem. So these partnerships are very much two-way streets. We're constantly recalibrating them based on what we learned from you all. And I think you'll get either now or later on a handout from us that lists what are called centers for faith-based and neighborhood partnerships spread across a variety of federal agencies. If you're not already aware of these centers and where you may want to share this, we've got it electronically. You can share it with your congregational members or your association members. If you have an interest in health, or if you have an interest in housing, or if you have an interest in global development and humanitarian assistance, then you can find the right agency to go to. And you can think of these centers as like a front door for you to walk through. The federal government can be difficult to know how to navigate. So we wanted to create a front door for you to open, to walk through, and to say, okay, here's my situation. advocacy, can we work on this together? So in each case, we have contacts listed for you, as well as contacts for our own office, and websites of the particular centers that are listed there. So I hope that that information will be helpful to you as you do your work. And if you have ideas of things that you think we should be doing at the Whitehouse or at the centers, I hope you will let us know. We're here to serve you and serve with you. So that's our great honor and privilege. I also just wanted to mention real quick some other work that we do. And that includes our efforts to promote religious pluralism, religious freedom, and non-discrimination. We have this tremendous country with this great promise of religious freedom for everybody. And we know that under our Constitution, there are no second-class faiths in America. Every faith stands on equal ground before government. And every citizen is equal in the eyes of government, whether they are a person of faith or no faith at all. So we want to make sure that these wonderful promises that were given to us by our founders are actually true today in every respect. And of course, that responsibility falls on all our shoulders because the guarantees of the Constitution don't mean anything if we're not there to back them up. So one of the things we've been working on recently is addressing some forms of discrimination against people because of their faith or perceived faith. And we have found, especially in the last year or so, that there has been some uptick in discrimination against people because of their faith or perceived faith, whether they're perceived to be Muslim or Sikh or some other faith, and sometimes some discrimination and even some violence directed toward people who are perceived to be of these faiths or are perceived to, or institutions that are perceived to be affiliated with these and other faiths. So we wanted to work on that issue, and one of the things we've done with the Department of Justice is set up roundtables across the country to look at 4 categories of issues. One is religious hate crimes, crimes that are based on religion that are violent against institutions or individuals, and attacks on houses of worship, religiously affiliated entities. The second category is religious discrimination and bullying in education. We see it sometimes, just something that breaks our hearts, which is children bullied because of their faith or their ethnicity or their background, whatever that's perceived to be. And that's particularly heartbreaking because we know that schools should be places where a child should always feel at home, just as much as anybody else. And so we need to look at that really hard and do so with our Department of Education. Third bucket of issues is employment discrimination based on religion. We want to make sure that everybody has the equal ability to get a job in America, no matter their faith or beliefs or background. And finally, protecting the ability of religious groups to build or expand houses of worship. There's actually a federal law known as the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act, which we call RLUIPA, when it rolls off the tongue. But that is a federal law that provides protection for religious entities to actually cite in a particular area without discrimination and to expand if they need to or want to. So that is some of the work that we do. Let me just mention that in these various areas we're taking steps to try to increase protection and reduce discrimination. So first in our schools, we have joined with the Department of Justice and the Department of Education to share federal resources about best practices against bullying and harassment in our schools that's religion-based. And in December 2015, the Department of Education sent a letter to schools reminding them of their obligation to ensure that schools are learning environments where students are always free from discrimination and harassment based on their race, religion, or national origin. And we can provide you, I'll be happy to provide these letters to Zachy to share with you if you're interested in them. Second are workplaces. The EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, has issued a number of fact sheets for both employers and employees about what they should know about religious and national origin discrimination in the workplace, giving examples and helping employers to know what their obligations are, and also helping employees to know here are some things that if they happen to you or you hear about them, you need to bring them to someone's attention to address them. And third, as I mentioned earlier, houses of worship. We're making sure that we address violations of RLUIPA, that federal law that I mentioned earlier. We're making sure that state and local authorities know about this federal law. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes we need to come in and educate them about it. And we're also making sure that we address hate crimes when we some of the work that we do in this area. The President has been very good about speaking out of these issues, as you know. He has a deep commitment to religious liberty for everyone and equal rights to religious liberty, of course, for everyone. And, he said some wonderful words after the horrible attacks in Orlando, and I'm just going to end my remarks by quoting him. The President said, "You can't make up the world into us and them and denigrate and express hatred toward groups because of the color of their skin or because of their faith or their sexual orientation and not feed something very dangerous in this world. So if there was ever a moment for all of us to reflect and reaffirm on our basic beliefs that everybody counts and everybody has dignity, now is that time. It's a good time for all of us to reflect on how we treat each other and to insist on respect and equality for every human being." So these are some of his commitments. Our office is also an embodiment of his commitment in terms of service that we want to join with others to provide. And I know that many of you provide many services every day to those around you, people of your own faith and people of many different faiths. And we just want to say a heartfelt thank you for that and open our door to greater and closer collaboration with you whenever you would choose to pursue that avenue with us. So with that, I'll just say thank you. And then, Zach, I don't know if we have time for a few questions or comments?
Sure, that could be.
Okay, sure. Anybody want to ask a question or make a comment? We're happy to hear from you. Yes, ma'am.
On behalf of JAINA and on behalf of everybody, we would definitely like to thank.
Good.
So please email us all the whatever you have, and I'll email to everybody all of it. And because we sat at directors from all over the
Right.
world and all over, and US and different states, and we want to everybody, like youngsters or anybody, whatever way they can help, so we can help them while the work is there.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I appreciate you pointing that out because I know each of you represent hundreds and hundreds of people, if not thousands and thousands. So by working with you, we will be able to reach many more people and have many more opportunities to partner together. And that's a really welcome prospect. So thank you for that. Yes.
What are some of the initiatives Whitehouse is taking for you to be involved more into the faith and into this, dialogue and discussion of nonviolence?
Sure. So I'll just name a couple, but we just actually wrapped up an initiative that the President started when he moved into the White House, which is called the President's Interfaith and Community Service Campus Challenge. A long title as well, but what that means is we work with colleges and universities and communities across the United States and now around the world who want to engage in service together and do so in a way that creates teams of people in all faiths and none. So part of the idea is serving other people, and then the other part of the idea is talking about what motivates us to serve, whether it's an ethical motivation or a religion-based motivation. And the idea there on that second score is to build bridges of understanding across different faiths and differences. Because we really found that when people serve together and get to know one another, they're much more comfortable talking about differences and they're much more able to see each other as simply human beings, not this different category of person. So that has been a great effort for us and one that continues. I don't know, I can helpfully connect you, I think, with our Department of Education Center for Faith-Based Neighborhood Partnerships, who runs this particular initiative. You may want to encourage your college students and university students to plug into that at their university or even start an effort at their university if they have not, if there's not one already established. So that would be one area I think that I would highlight for you in particular. Also, I believe you might have said something about crime reduction or violence reduction. We also have through our Department of Justice Center a very strong emphasis on reducing youth violence. And so a few months ago, I went to a conference that was made up of faith community leaders sharing best practices on reducing youth violence. And so I would love to be able for you to be able to learn more about that effort. Some of you may be involved already. I'm sure you're already involved in terms of caring for our young people.
Just physical disease, we send them to the hospital, send those who have somebody with mental disease. So we should not be others, and we should be hospitals for those people. And come this very normal way, we can bring peace. And so the idea should be changed. We are making well. This chapter is not related to mental disease and we not but away. We can and still understand that and we have explained the debate.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate so much that word about peacemaking, and your commitment to peacemaking and the commitment to changing hearts and minds in the way we approach these issues, taking what might be negative and driving it in a positive direction. And that's what we see will really change the world with all of our shoulders to the wheel. So I so much appreciate your dedication to this and to the very hard work of peacemaking. Peacemaking is not something passive, is it? It's something that's very active and takes a strong constitution and constant work on behalf of all of us.
And I totally agree. Zaki and I feel like we are partners in crime and being in the White House, especially dealing with our community because it's so vast and it's a very big umbrella. Melissa also is such a fabulous partner and really very inclusive and someone that does really work with all faiths and really try to help folks. The first thing I wanted to talk about really is just the broad numbers of what's going on in the administration. I think there's a lot of, and sorry, I have a cold, so my voice is a little not as strong, but because all this stuff going on in the news, you would think that there was no progress happening in the last 8 years. I wanted to give you a few numbers that concern the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. Over the almost past 8 years, the President really has strived to make and improve people's lives, and especially recognizing the tremendous growth and unique needs in our Asian American and Pacific Islander community. Under the President, unemployment has been reduced by half. API small businesses have employed over 3.5 million Americans, which have every year generated in our community over $700 billion in revenue. When the President first took office, 15% of the adults in this country were uninsured. And according to, and today we have 20 million Americans that are now covered by health care. A recent survey by HHS, and a report that came out, looked at the periods between 2010 and 2015, and 59% were reduced for the Asian American and Pacific Islander community, which is tremendous under 5 years, and hopefully we'll get the next 41% insured. I'm going to make a small plug because Zaki and I have been asked to do this at every meeting that we talk to people, but the open enrollment is now coming up and starting on November 1st. So if you know folks that don't have health care, please remind them to sign up for health care through our healthcare.gov website, and their enrollment periods from November 1st for the 2017.
Excellent, everyone. Thank you to Whitehouse team for inviting us today. This is a milestone in JAINA's history, or in JAINA's history, but Whitehouse history. Jain delegation has not been invited to Whitehouse for this 400+ years. So thank you for making this. Acharya Thunaji, Sarve Saijaji, and Sarve Samitaji, my brothers and sisters and children. It gives me immense pleasure to stand here before you today and represent a community of 150,000 Jains in the US, the second richest community in the US today. We may be small by number, but we are small in number, we make up from the value. We have contributed as a Jain community within the Indian community. Jain community is the well-wished. We have contributed in almost every field in the US. Today we have representation, we have Jain leaders from 25 different states right now present. So that's how well represented the Jain community Jain community is founded on the basic tenet of non-violence. That is our total 3 tenets. That's the first one. We call it ahimsa, non-violence. So that is the basic tenet. Our members have always been non-violent. We have practiced it for thousands of years. Our first Tirthankar, the one we call Bishop Dev, started it thousands of years ago. And our last Tirthankar, 24th one, Mahavir Swami, made ahimsa a common word in the dictionary. That's where non-violence started. That's where ultimately Gandhiji came to know of it. Now today, as the world faces turbulent times, Jain principles of live and help live can potentially provide a solution that we are all seeking to end this violence. Because we have seen that violence, in reaction to violence, is getting more violence, and it becomes a never-ending cycle of violence. So we have, as a community, as a global community, we have to find a way to out of this, and non-violence perhaps is a way. This is what our Jain religion is. By the way, the belief in this non-violence is so strong that across the world, across the centuries, you will never find a Jain, not even a single Jain, who has propagated or started violence. That's how strongly each of us here, and 150,000 Jains in the US, and millions of Jains across the globe, believe in violence. Now, under President Obama, the United States has reached unprecedented heights, whether it's in the field of economic growth, number of jobs, healthcare, social change, and global peace. No new wars have started in the last 8 years under President Obama. That is very different from the previous 8 years. So, incredible job that Whitehouse has done in making sure started to win. We would like to congratulate President Obama for all the steps he has personally taken to also strengthen the ties with India. Prime Minister Modi and President Obama, everybody knows, are good friends. And that helps. The largest democracy and the oldest democracy are finally very close friends. We have as a community waited for a long time for that to happen, and that has happened in this situation. On behalf of JAINA, with 67 member associations and 150,000 members, I reach out to each of you, especially the representatives in Whitehouse, from President Obama, of course, to embrace the values of world peace and non-violence. JAINA's two major initiatives, Young Jains of America and Young Jain Professional, are our arms to arms to reach out to the next generation. Our youths, hundreds of thousands of youths have gone through these non-violence courses as they grow up from age 3 onwards until at least they go to college. And they have this value of Jain principle of non-violence so ingrained in them that they carry the torch forward. Now we see the third generation also learning the value of non-violence. So that's how strongly we believe in that. Our biennial JAINA convention hosts leading thinkers, speakers, scholars, etc. to share their wisdom with the rest of the world. The last convention that we had in Atlanta in July 2015, the theme of the convention itself was World Peace Through Non-Violence, and 4,000 delegates attended that convention. And the coverage was by TV, etc. all over the world. As I conclude, I am reminded of what Mahatma Gandhi had said, that an eye for an eye will make the world right. So that is something we strongly believe in, and I hope and pray that we will all continue to strive towards such principle, since that is the only way forward to end violence and build a safe and secure world for our next generations. That is not all. I, as JAINA President, appeal from this platform that all my fellow Americans, brothers and sisters, will come together and make this world